This old stump here, he's got a story to tell. 2 days ago, my neighbor, my 85-year-old neighbor, was sitting on this piece of wood, and he was digging at the roots of this tree. And I was coming back from a walk down the driveway over there. You can see a little bit of it there. And I heard him tinking away with a hammer and a bar, and so I thought I'd come over, and because he always tells good stories. He worked for the railroad for many years and ran trains and was management. He's always got a different story. So I came over to talk to him and hear one of his good stories, or two or three of them. Anyway, he was sitting there tinking away, and I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting this tree out. I trimmed all my bushes over there last night, and I'm getting this. I want to get this thing out of here because I want to do something here." And so after he got through telling his stories and tinking, he stood up, and he stood up right here, right back here. Where he stood up, yeah, he climbed out of there and stood on the ground right here. And then you see those weeds there? I said, "You better not pick those weeds because you'll wind up going to the chiropractor like me." So he bent over, and next thing you know, he was laying on the ground dead. His eyes were open, he wasn't breathing, and I was in total shock, of course, but didn't know it. So I cried out to God. I said, "God, don't let him die. Don't let him die." So I got down on my knees right here, and I started doing CPR on him. I pushing on his chest, and I heard a gurgle, 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 and I slapped him in the face, and he came up, he came awake, came out of his death rattle, and then we got him over in the shade over there as best we could, and then he kind of threw up a little, and then I called my son next door and I said, "Call 911, quick, get him over here." I said, "He's okay, but he just died, and the Lord brought him back." So we stayed with him, and he just kind of laid down. He was really, really, really weak. So we got the paramedics came, and they put him in a gurney and took him to the hospital. They couldn't find anything wrong with him. So that night my son went and visited him, and he was doing fine, and I went to visit him in the evening, and I told him the story, what happened, how he had died, his eyes were open, he was not breathing, and most important part, to me anyway, is when he came to, I told him that Jesus is the gateway to eternity and to heaven. You must make sure you're right with him. You must make sure you're right with him. You don't have much time. You got to get this right. He said, okay. Anyway, so when I went to the hospital to visit him, I told the story of what happened, and I told him what I told him. I said, "Lonnie, you got to get this right. You don't have any other. This is the way through Jesus Christ to eternity and to heaven with the Father." So he says, I did. And anyway, I went home, and that night his heart stopped again. And they brought him back to life the same way I did. And they put an external pacemaker on him, and the next morning they put a permanent pacemaker in him. And I talked to him last night. He sounds terrific. He says, "My dizziness is gone that I've been having for a long time." He says, "I feel terrific." He says, "That mean you're going to go out and do yard work again?" "Oh, yeah, just earlier in the morning when it's not so hot." Thank you for listening. Now he's still got a neighbor, and we love him dearly, dearly, dearly. He's precious to God and to us. Amen.